Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we had started the discussion over the salient features of the Indian Constitution. Okay. And basically these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series. Okay. Like we are going to start with or you can say we have started with the introduction part. Thereafter the salient features of the Constitution. Thereafter the criticism of the Constitution. Thereafter the schedules of the Constitution at a glance. Thereafter the sources of the Constitution at a glance. Okay. Out of this, basically, we have done with the introduction part. Since last few lectures, we have been discussing upon the salient features of the Constitution. And the topics we are left with is the criticism of the Constitution, schedules of the Constitution at a glance, sources of the Constitution at a glance. Okay. So that is the picture that we have created so far altogether. So basically in this lecture, we are going to start from where we had left in the previous one. Okay. So now in this lecture, basically we are going to start with the single citizenship. Okay. In the previous lecture, we had finished the concept of universal adult franchisee. Okay. As well as the concept of secularism. So basically in this lecture, we are going to look after the single citizenship. All right. So the Indian Constitution is federal and envisages a dual polity. It means that basically we have the two type of government, the central government and the state government. The central government is responsible for the central level, while the state government is responsible for the respective state. And we had discussed that this system is not, you can say, newly introduced while we introduced the Constitution, but that was basically being continued by the Britishers and we had further modified it. So it provides for only a single citizenship, that is the Indian citizenship. Like we could say, however, we have the two forms of the government, okay, as per the Constitution, the central and the state. Now, most of the times, it is not wrong, it is true, but it is not correct as per the Constitution. Remember my words, what I'm saying. It is right, it is true, but it is not correct as per the Constitution. Like if we talk about the types of government or forms of government. All right. So basically in India, there are three types of government in actual. The first type is the central government. The second type is the state government. All right. And the third type is the local or district government. Okay. So that is a picture. If we talk about it in a broader sense, so basically, originally in the Constitution, only these two have been provided. Okay. Originally in the Constitution, only these two have been provided, which means the local or the district government was not originally provided in the Constitution. So how did we come to this local or the district government? All right. So basically when we talk about the local or the district government, so there is a two type of systems, the panchayat system and the municipality system. Okay. Out of this, basically the first system is of the Indian origin. It means that it was originated and developed in India by itself. Whereas the municipality was the British origin. It means that basically the British government was the one who introduced it in the proper sense. All right. So these are tools. But originally, when the constitution was framed, these two did not have any mention in the constitution. These were later added by 73rd and by 74th. 73rd and the 74th Amendment Act of 1992. Got it? The 73rd is for the Panchayat. The 74th is for the municipality. Okay? So that is the thing. Now let's talk about it. Like, however, we have the two forms of the government originally provided, but still there is a single citizenship, is the Indian citizenship. Okay? And if we talk about the countries like the United States of America, on the other hand, each person is not only a citizen of USA, but also a citizen of the particular state to which he belongs. For example, if we take it, so this is the India, this is the United States of America, USA basically. Okay. So in India, how many states? 28 states. In USA, how many states? 50 states. Okay. So in USA, there is a concept of dual citizenship. In India, there is a concept of single citizenship. Okay. So if we take the example of this, so suppose if someone is in the USA and in the state of California, for example, then the person is required to obtain the citizenship as an American citizen as well as Californian citizen. Okay, which means the person is not only required to have the citizenship of the country in which he or she is living in, also required to obtain the citizenship of the state in which he or she is residing in. Whereas, on the other hand, if we take the example of India, then suppose if someone is living in India and the person belongs to the state of Haryana, for example, okay, then the person is not required to obtain the citizenship of India as well as the citizenship of Haryana. If the person is having the citizenship of India, then the person could easily live in the country. Why? Because our constitution only provides for the single citizenship, not the dual citizenship as the United States of America. Got it? So now I hope the concept has been a little bit clear to you. So thus he owes allegiance to both and enjoys dual set of rights, one conferred by the national government, okay, and by the state government. Okay, like we could say when we talk about the America, so any person who is living in the USA, he is having the citizenship of both of the you can say areas like the national and the state. So basically the person having the dual sets of right, which means that the rights which he could enjoy as a citizen of USA and the right which he could enjoy as a citizen of California. The example which we had taken for the explanation part. Okay. In India, if we talk about it, all citizens, irrespective of the state in which they are residing in, like we had taken the example of Haryana, in which they are born or reside, enjoy the same political and the civil rights of citizenship all over the country. For example, the person was born on Haryana and now the person is living in Himachal Pradesh. Okay, So the set of rights he had in the Haryana and the set of rights he will have in the Himachal Pradesh, they all are same. It means that there will be no change in the political and the civil rights of the citizen in respect of the born state and the residing state. But the similar thing is not applicable for the American citizen. If someone was born in California and now the person was residing in Washington, another state. Okay. So the privileges he has in the California, the same privileges he will not have in the Washington. Okay. Why? Because the state rules in the California for their citizens are different for the state rules of Washington for their citizens. Okay. So that's the thing. But in India, there is the same political and civil rights in respect of the born or the residing state all over the country. So that's why there is no discrimination is made between them. It means if the person is having the Indian citizenship and he is living in any state under the territory of India, he could live where he want to live. He could decide where he want to reside. Okay. There will be a no change in the civil and the political rights of anyone. Okay. Despite the constitutional provision for a single citizenship, okay, and a uniform rights for all the people, India has been witnessing the communal rights, class conflicts, caste wars, linguistic clashes, and the ethnic disputes. Okay, which means there is still an issue with the Indians regarding this. This means that the cherished goal of the constitutional makers, for which they provided the single citizenship, for which they provided the common political and civil rights. Okay, these areas have not been completely fulfilled. Okay, and that's why the dream to build a united and the integrated Indian nation has not been fully realized because of these problems. Okay, so that is the concept of single citizenship. I hope that the concept has been very much clear to you. If not, then you can revise this video by rewatching. Thereafter, now we are going to talk about the independent bodies. Okay, so if basically we talk about it, then generally if we talk about the types of bodies, so there are various classification of the bodies, like charter body, like statutory body, like constitutional body, like non-statutory, or legal body. Okay, so these are the types of the bodies that we generally talk about. If we talk about the charter body, then basically established by the royal orders of king or queen. The best example of this is the East India Company. Okay, that was the charter body as it was basically established by the royal orders of the king or the queen of England. Thereafter, if we talk about the statutory body, what does it mean? It means established by Act and has own rules and regulations. Okay, so it is a statutory body. The best example of this is the Reserve Bank of India. which was established by the Reserve Bank of India Act. Okay, so that's why it's having their own rules and regulations. Thereafter, if we talk about the constitutional body, if we talk about it in particular, so having mention in constitution and also powers and functions defined by it. Thereafter, if we talk about the non-statutory or the legal body, establish under, or you can say establish as per legal law. Like the companies and the organization and NGOs which establish, they are required to get registration under some particular act. Okay, so these are things. So basically, when we talk about it, the another form is the dependency. These are the type of forms. Now, the another form is the independent body and the dependent body. The independent body is the body which does not comes under any department and all. Okay, while the dependent body is the body which comes under any department. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the independent bodies that are provided by the Constitution of India. So what are these bodies? Let's have a look on it. The Indian Constitution not only provides for the legislative, for the executive, for the judicial organs of the government at the central and the state, but also establish the certain independent bodies, okay, which does not comes under any of these organs. So that's why they are independent in their working, they are independent in their approach. Okay, and these are envisaged by the Constitution as the bulwarks of the democratic system of the government in India. Like if we talk about these ones, legislative, executive, and the judicial, these all are the organs of the government. But there are chances that might be these organs do not work properly. So which is the body which will look after it? Which will be the body which will ensure that these organs work properly? Okay, so that's why there is a concept of independent bodies which are independent of these organs. Like they do not come under the legislative, executive, and the judiciary. That's why they are the bulwarks or the protectors of the democratic system of the government in India. Okay, like they could work on their own and they could look after these organs effectively. So the first of this is the Election Commission. The Election Commission is to ensure free and fair elections to the Parliament, to the state legislature, to the President of India, and towards the Vice President of India. Okay, like when we talk about the democracy, the first thing in the democracy is the elected government, right? Okay, and if we talk about the efficiency of the elected government, so basically we must ensure that there are free and the fair elections. Okay, and to ensure this, there is an Election Commission which is an independent body, which means it does not come any of these organs. Okay, and the Election Commission having the certain defined areas in which they ensure the free and fair elections, like the parliament elections, the election of Lok Sabha and the Raj Sabha, the state legislature, okay, the President of India and the Vice President of India. Okay, these are the main offices of the governance in this country, and the Election Commission ensures that the elections to these offices must be free and fair. Okay, so that the effective working of the democracy could be ensured. The another body is the Comptroller and the Auditor General of India to audit the accounts of the central and the state governments. Okay, like if we talk about it, whatever the money the central and the state governments are expending on various projects, supplements, and all right, these money is basically connected through two areas. Through the taxation or through non-taxation. Okay, but all these areas, whether it's a taxation and the non-taxation, having the flow, or you can say having the source of revenue, which is the general people of India, right? So that's why whatever the money the center, the state governments are spending, that must be audited to check whether the money is spent on the right thing as per the plan or not, and also to reduce the cases of financial corruption. Okay, so the Comptroller and the Auditor General of India, which is in short also known as CAG, we will have a detailed discussion over him in the upcoming lectures. Till then, just remember the CAG. So he acts as the guardian of public purse. Why I said purse? Because here I had told you whatever the revenue the government is getting from the taxation or the non-taxation, that is the money which is coming from the general people of India. Okay, and he comments on the legality and the propriety of the government expenditure, like whether the government was a central government or the state government, and where they had spent the money, that was legal or not. Who will decide? The CAG will comment on it. Thereafter, the propriety. It means that suppose the government is showing that they required rupees 10,000 crores to spend on some project. Okay, so now it's the responsibility of the CAG that he will check out whether the project cost this much or not. Suppose if the project is only for rupees 5,000 crores, then what will happen? The extra 5,000 crores will be wasted. Okay, and because it is a people money, so that should not be wasted at any cost. Okay, that is the working of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Then comes the Union Public Service Commission. Okay, and we know that there was a famous act which is known as the Government of India Act 1935. So what was the significance of this act? So many provisions of the Constitution of India we had brought it from this act, or you can say directly copy pasted it. And what are these provisions? So we will see these provisions when we will have a discussion over the drawn sources of the Constitution. Okay, but the one thing that has provided us is that Central Public Service Commission, another one is Provincial Public Service Commission. The Central Public Service Commission had the responsibility to recruit the persons as civil servants at the central level, while the Provincial Public Service Commission had the responsibility to recruit the persons as a civil servant for the state level. The Central Public Service Commission was also known as the Federal Public Service Commission. Okay, and later when we formulated the Constitution of India, basically we had replaced the federal form with this one. It means Union Public Service Commission. Why? Because as I had told you in the previous lecture also, that however the Indian state is of the federal nature, but still instead of calling it as a federal nature, basically we call it as a union state. Okay. So when we denote the central level, so basically we do not use federal word here. Basically, instead of federal word, we use the union. So that is the Union Public Service Commission. So it is required to conduct the examinations for the recruitment to all India services and the higher central services to advise the president on the disciplinary matters regarding these civil servants. All right. Thereafter, there is a State Public Service Commission in every state to conduct the examination for recruitment to the state services and to advise the governor on the disciplinary matters regarding the civil servants in the state. So when it is a national level, the president will be the one to whom they will advise. When it is at the state level, so the governor will be the one to whom they will advise. Okay. Remember that apart from the federal or the Union Public Service Commission and the State Public Service Commission, there may be Joint Public Service Commission. Okay. And Joint Public Service Commission could be established when they are required to conduct tests and requirements for two or more states. Okay. So in such conditions, the Joint Public Service Commission could also be established. The Constitution ensures the independence of these bodies through the provisions like the security of tenure, okay, like the fixed service conditions, like the expenses which will be being charged on the consolidated fund of India when it's a national level, and when it's a central level, state level, then the consolidated fund of the state. Okay. Thereafter, then we have the emergency provisions. So the Indian Constitution contains the elaborated emergency provisions to enable the president to meet any extraordinary situation effectively. It means that the president of India is empowered to impose any kind of emergency if some extraordinary situations prevail in the country. The rationality behind the incorporation of these provisions is to safeguard the sovereignty, unity, integrity, and security of the country and the democratic political system and the Constitution. The Constitution envisages the three types of emergencies, namely as the national emergency, on the ground of war, external aggression, or the armed rebellion under Article 352. Thereafter, the state emergency, it is also known as the President rule, on the ground of failure of constitutional machinery in the state under Article 356, or failure to comply with the directions of the center under Article 365. We will discuss them in detail while we have a discussion over the emergency. Finally, financial emergency on the grounds of threat to the financial stability or credit of India, Article 360. Remember, during an emergency, the central government becomes all powerful and the states go into the total control of the center, converts the federal structure into the unitary one without formal amendment of the Constitution. This kind of transformation of the political system from federal to unitary emergency is a unique feature of the Indian Constitution and does not present in any constitution all over the world. Thereafter, there is a three-tier government, which I had already told you. Okay, there is nothing to explain it. I had already explained the things to you. All right. Thereafter, the cooperative society, if we talk about it, there is a 97th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011, which gave a constitutional status and protection to the cooperative society. Okay. And this made these three changes in the Constitution. The first, it made the right to form the cooperative societies as a fundamental right under Article 90. Second, included a new director principle of state policy on the promotion of cooperative societies, Article 43B. Okay, and added a new part, which is the Part 9B in the Constitution, which is entitled as the Cooperative Societies Act 243ZH to 243ZT. The new Part 9B contains various provisions to ensure that cooperative societies in the country function in a democratic, professional, autonomous, and economically sound manner, empowers the parliament in respect of multi-state cooperative societies and the state legislature in respect of other cooperative societies to make the appropriate law. Thereafter, if we talk about the criticism of the Constitution, okay, so I don't think that we have a sufficient time to discuss this in detail. So what we will do, that we will start the discussion over it in the next lecture. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that we have discussed in this lecture and be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.